You guys ready to rock and roll? You guys ready to talk about that? So, as you guys already know, if you haven't already been aware, the dollar is tanking next to the peso. All right, let's put it on screen for a minute. Let's get right into it. As you guys know how we do here. All right, look at that. You know what I mean? And this is, we're going, like, if you guys can see it there, we are going back, all the way back to 2003. Okay, so that's 20 years there. So 20 years ago, it was, $1 would get you 11 pesos and 20 cents. Okay, and right now we're still at 1684. All right, and we went to a high of, let's see, at one point we went almost to 25 pesos to the dollar. Okay, but right now, you know what I mean? We are at 1684. All right, but let's just not forget, how far we can still drop, and perhaps drop even further. All right, so we're going to be talking about not just this. Obviously this is the major catalyst. It's what's kind of getting us there. All right, and the reason we're doing the dollar, well, because it's a world reserve currency. Most of the audience, uses the dollar. But on top of that, whether you're using Canadian dollars or whatever other currency out there, it's even worse. As you guys know, it's even worse for your own currency. So, that's we're gonna be talking about that. All right, So anyway, shout out to everyone out there in the audience. All right, welcome back. All right. Give me 1 second, uno segundo. All right. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so we're gonna be, also talking about this and conversing with it, conversing with the audience, meaning I'm talking to you guys about it. So please, whatever you guys want to add, ask me about this, talk to me about this, we're gonna talk about it. Okay, so number one, what's the question? Okay, shout out to everyone out there, but let's not forget Paula. Okay, remember, every single question is asked by someone out there in the audience. If you want more information on how we do all that, we'll talk about it at the end of the live stream here. Okay, by the way, I don't know if you guys can hear that guy out there. That's the tortilla guy. He come by around this time, lunchtime. Hey, get your tortillas. Anyways, all right, so Paula was asking me, will Mexico ever get too expensive to live in? And again, so it depends on who's asking. Okay, this is why I'm answering in the in a live stream format, because this is a very complicated question and answer. All right, because again, it really does depend on who's asking. Because for some people, this is bueno, muy bueno. You know what I mean? The lower it goes, the better. So how low can we go? How low can we go? So really, there's many people out there, all right, that they want it to go as low as humanly possible, all right, and those people are called Mexicans, all right. So most Mexicans, they want it to go as low as humanly possible, okay. Now, everyone else, anyone that deals with dollars, meaning like you earn in dollars, or your retirement, your pension, your stock option, whatever it is, whatever you're dealing with is in dollars or euros or whatever. Oh yeah, you're hurting. You're hurting very mucho, and it's only gonna get mucho worse. Okay, mucho worse as time goes on. All right, as it goes lower. And why is it bad? Why is it bad? Let's delve into that, okay? Because let's look at it, okay? Let's just say that it goes for, instead of 1 to 16, where we're at now, okay? Let's say it goes from 1 to 10. Let's keep it into perspective. What does that mean? It means that $1 gets you 10 pesos. So again, think about it. You're still winning. For $1, you get 10 pesos. Okay, so you're winning. Now the thing is that a lot of people, the real problem is, this is what no one talks about. The real problem is that there's a lot of people out there that have already gotten used to, living, with the exchange rate being 1 to 20 or close to 1 to 20. And so right now, as life is punching them in the face, because let's not talk about politics or economics or anything like that. We talk about that to death on the channel, okay? We talk about all those subjects and what really, what's constituting, this, and why is it going to keep dropping, okay? We talk about that already enough, okay? The reality is that, when people ask, will Mexico ever get too expensive to live in? It's really a lot of people that have just never, that have been used to living at the exchange rate of 1 to 20. And this is the reality of it, okay? Because again, you can look at this map. This graph over here on the screen. This goes back 20 years, okay? But back in 2014, okay, look at where it was, okay? But it wasn't up until we got to 2017, okay? 2017, all right? But let's just say 2016, okay? 2016, well, we got to 18 pesos, okay? That's when, again, that's how many years? That's 7 years ago, okay? This is August of 2016, okay? And that was at 18 pesos, okay? After being so low for so long. So since then, again, you can see it right there on the graph, okay? Okay, basically since, late 2016, okay, so literally 7 years from now, because we're about to hit August, so 7 years and running, we have been seeing 18 and above. So there's a lot of people that have moved to Mexico or made their decision to move to Mexico or did their move in the last 7 years. They've been used to this exchange rate, and now all of a sudden, reality is hitting them in the face that, oh my God, we might go down back to what it used to be, okay? Not that long ago, all right? And so that's where we're heading. You can look at this graph. It's pretty obvious. And then if you look at, when you start looking at all the other things, the political issues, the issues, in the world that are happening at the moment, you go deeper and deeper. The deeper you go, the more you realize, oh my God, this is going to drop like a rock, okay? And when you ask a typical Mexican about this, they're happy. I was surprised to hear things like, oh, wow, the more this drops, the more likely I can go visit my family in the USA. Oh, wow, now I can afford to go to Japan and study in Japan for a month. Oh, wow, now I can X, Y, Z. Now I can afford this. Now I can afford that. Now, that's what all you're hearing in Mexico. The complete opposite of what you're hearing on all the English speaking or other foreign speaking, chat, YouTube channels or chats or pages or whatever, where you hear people constantly complaining about this. I mean, look, I earn in dollars. A lot of you guys earn in dollars. Most of us earn in dollars. So of course, the more it drops, the more I hurt, just like anyone else. But since I've been here for 5 years already, all right, and I've already been integrated into Mexico. Well, guess what? I also have the ability to earn in pesos, okay, and that changes the dynamic because I'm not worried. Every time I see pesos these days, I'm like, honestly, every time I get pesos in my hand these days, I'm always in my pesos all day. Every time I get $1, I'm like, bruh, not gonna lie. I'm just, straight up. Even though I get most of my money in dollars, But look, that's just the reality of it, though. It's just, that's where we're heading. Now we've talked about it on the channel. What is causing, this drop, and we can briefly touch on it right now. But again, it's the fact that Mexico's getting stronger. They're becoming, the USA is becoming more dependent on Mexico each and every day as they become less dependent on China. Also Mexico is nationalizing things like oil, lithium. I can go on and on. The middle class in Mexico is growing bigger and bigger each and every day. They are earning more. Their dollars, their pesos, are worth more. So not only are they earning more, but now they got more spending power, meaning that, again, like I was the other day I was at the hardware store. I had to take care of something for grandma, and I was surprised. Me and the handyman were so surprised that the same water pump that I had to buy for my house not too long ago, a year ago, was actually cheaper today. I was looking at the air conditioners, while I was waiting to get my pump. And I was like, wow, these air conditioners have dropped in price. When we were getting the other materials, the other raw materials that we needed for the job that we needed to do, we're like, wait a minute, this is cheaper. Because again, we already had a mental quote because, whatever. Anyways, we work at these things and we're like, wait a minute, wow, it's just dropped and dropped. While at the same time, the typical Mexican is making more. And it's not because they're charging broke-ass gringos out there. They're not. It's because, again, it's just the economy is doing better and better each and every day. And they have more earning potential, more earning power, more spending power, more money. I could go on and on. They're getting richer, okay? As hard as that is to believe, all right? So, yeah, they don't want dollars. They don't give a crap about dollars. And the lower it goes, the better it is for them. And so that's the reality of it. So is it going to continue to drop? Hells yes. Hells yes, okay? You better believe it. Well, again, outside of some catastrophic event, okay, which can happen. I don't want to get into all that now. That might reverse things. But, you can see, even if you look at this graph, okay, I don't want to get too deep into it, but you can look at the graph itself. Sorry. Let me, there we go. You can look at the graph itself and look at the last, several years, and you see that major spike. That was the beginning of the virus situation, okay? And you saw, if you can look really closely, you see that the trend was lowering. So back before the virus, it was already on its way down. The virus made it jump all the way up to eventually they got to 25. But then from then, it's been steadily dropping. And, now that things are back to normal in a sense, back to pre-virus days, you better believe this thing's dropping like a rock because, Mexico, only put themselves in a better position instead of a worse position through the last, several years as other countries have done. And so therefore, now, the tides are turning and they are in a very good position, in an amazing position to capitalize on this. And again, as more people will become dependent on Mexico for goods, whether it's microchips or car parts or tacos or whatever it is, okay? Because, they are, Mexico's going to get even richer, okay? And that's it. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? So just, you got to keep. Plus, there is a huge, culture of, again, hardworking people that save money, that, have even though they've been poor for a long time, they got properties, they got homes, they got rights. Let's not forget that. They still got their rights, okay? And they are very free, very free people, okay? And, when you mix all that together, I mean, look at what China was able to do. Imagine what Mexico is going to be able to do without communism, okay? So just, hold on to your britches out there. So, okay, so now let's just talk about it because it's like, so we're talking about, will Mexico ever get too expensive to live in? Okay, so now let's break that down. So I've already explained to you, if you're a Mexican, or you are somebody that is in the Mexican economy, meaning you're making pesos, you're integrated into the economy, it's not going to get too expensive, for you to live in. It's going to get awesomer. It's going to get, just better every single day, all right? So not necessarily more expensive because in a sense, it might be getting more expensive, but you'll be making more money. So the reality is that not really, okay? But everything else is going to get cheaper. Like, again, everything else abroad, okay? You're going to be now, the lucky few. Again, if you're a Mexican making Mexican pesos, or, again, someone that's a foreigner making pesos. Now, everyone else, let's say if you only rely on another currency, then yes, it's going to get very expensive. If you only rely on the Canadian dollar, on the US dollar, on the euro, on all these, okay? And then you're also, only relying on the collapsing system that is keeping that currency afloat, yeah, it's going to keep getting more expensive. As they print more money, as, all that keeps deteriorating even further, yes, it's going to get more expensive because, again, remember, Mexico and the U.S., again, Mexico and all these other first world countries, but just Mexico on its own and then all the other first world countries, they're both heading in two completely different directions, okay? Let's not forget all that. And because of that, then yes, and so my prediction which is, I never even thought about this, but this is basically kind of like a new prediction that I've been kind of talking about and thinking about, the last like several months, almost I would say 6 months now. But it's kind of crazy to me to see it all kind of play out. But Mexico's going to be one of those places that's going to be very expensive country to come visit and live in and experience. And even though at one time it was a very, very, again, inexpensive country, a very cheap country. How many people come to Mexico just for a cheap vacation? Again, it's like, oh, be careful, the cartels. Oh, be careful, the violence. Be careful, the danger. Be careful. But people are like, but it's so cheap. You know what I mean? Like, it's so cheap. It's totally worth the risk. But now things, again, the tides are turning now. And so Mexico is now becoming a very rich country each and every day, a more modern country each and every day. And now if you want to visit Mexico, it's going to be like visiting a rich country, like a rich European country in which your dollar, you know what I mean, it is not buying you anything in Switzerland. Your dollar ain't buying you jack crap, in some of these very rich countries, okay? Where, Dubai, whatever, where it's like $1 buys you negative 38, whatever currency that is, okay? So it's like, it ain't buying you, So, that's why when you go to Dubai, when you go to Switzerland, when you go to certain countries around the world, it's expensive as hell because their currency is worth a lot more. Now, I don't know. I don't think that Mexico's currency is going to get that strong, but you never know. And at the end of the day, the further it keeps dropping, you better believe the more expensive it's going to get. So for example, think about it. If all of a sudden the dollar goes 1-to-1 with the peso, like the euro, for example, wow, like how expensive is it going to be to live in Mexico as an American? Very expensive, right? But now think about it. How cheap is it going to be for a Mexican to live or visit the USA or anywhere else in the world or be able to do anything with their currency in their own country? You follow me here? So basically it's the tides are turning. And that's the thing that most people cannot wrap their heads around. They just cannot understand. Well, what do you mean? If the USA is getting poorer and the USA is getting worse and all this horribleness is happening in the USA, how is it? How is it that Mexico with the cartels and the craziness, why are they getting better? Why are they getting richer? Why are they having a better go at it? Why are they building? Why are we not building? I don't know. I'd ask your, representatives in Congress or senators and the people you vote in for whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? This is why I live here. You know what I mean? Where I don't got to worry about any of that. So, yeah, you know what I mean? This is very interesting. Keith Hanna says, you saw split ACs for 9,000 pesos. Man, I saw them at Boschito, okay? Which is like the Mexican Home Depot for 4,500 pesos. I don't want to hear. And to install it, again, I already looked into it. It's 5,000 pesos, okay? So basically 5,000 pesos to get an AC installed. Very cheap. Very cheap, okay? Because again, even my handyman was like, wow, that's cheap. And that's a good one. Because again, we were there the other day, literally a few days ago. So yeah, I don't know. Might be 9,000 where you're from, but I can take you to the Boschito. It's not. Anyways, so what was I gonna say? In fact, that same one that's 4,500 pesos. It's the same. I just thought of it. It's the same one that's blowing air right now here, and this one cost me over 6,000 pesos. The same exact one, okay, a newer one. So yeah, it has dropped in price, okay. And a lot of things, not everything, okay. Some things have gone up in price and stayed up in price, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? A lot of things have gone down in price, and things usually do not go down in price, okay? Especially things like that. But the reason that they've gone down in price, let's say, an air conditioner, is because that thing was probably coming from abroad. And so therefore, they were bought with a stronger peso, so therefore they're actually cheaper now to the Mexican. You follow? Okay. So again, remember, the USA for the longest time had, the strongest of all strong currencies, and it's not so strong these days because of all the, printing that they've done the last several years, more printing that they've ever done in the history of what, I don't want to get into it. The point I'm making is that now the dollar is not as strong as it used to be, and it does not buy you what it used to buy you. And again, that's what people are not wrapping their heads around. And when it comes to Mexicans, it's the complete opposite. Now they're like, oh my God, I can get so much with my pesos these days. This is pretty crazy. So, Meggy Price, what actually determines the exchange rate? Many things, but the reality is that for the longest time, okay, so a lot of people, I've read comments that say, oh, it's because other countries are manipulating their currency to go against the dollar. No, listen, no, that's not how it works. Look, King Dollar and the US empire controls everything, but when they themselves cannot control what's going on in their own backyard, how the hell are they going to be able to control what's going on elsewhere anymore? So this is why you're seeing things like this, where not just Mexico, but there's other countries like Mexico that are also, benefiting from this exchange rate. But in Mexico, the reality is that at the end of the day, what dictates the price is the dollar, the Fed, the people back there. But when they are going up against things that they cannot fight anymore, meaning Mexico has a very low debt rate, okay, meaning typical Mexican has very low debt. Mexico as a country has very low debt. So when you don't have to service a major debt like that, and the people, the civilians don't also have individual debt. Remember, the USA, everyone's indebted. Nobody is indebted in Mexico. There are in debt, but you know what I mean. It's not. So that's a number one issue. Number two, Mexico now, has, lithium deposits. Lithium is the new gold that they just discovered. Number three, silver. They got the Spanish Empire was built on this silver. Okay, there's so much silver here. Okay, that they hundreds of years ago they mined it to oblivion into hyperinflating physical silver, if you can believe that. All right, I don't want to get too deep into that, but if you're into all that, you'll be like, what? But yes, because remember, right now we're hyperinflating paper money, invisible money, money that's that's printed on a screen in a sense. But now when more people each and every day are losing faith in that, well, more people are going back to gold and silver, like it or not. I don't care what you hear in the news. I'm just telling you what's happening. So, Mexico has the biggest silver reserves on the planet, okay? Plus, they got other natural resources. They got the youngest population, or one of the youngest populations on Earth. They got, again, a burgeoning economy. Again, the whole thing that's happening, which I get, when you add all these things together, that's what really is dictating that price going down. But the kicker is that every single time that the U.S. is printing more money, so outside of the infinity amount of money that they print on a daily basis, but every time they say, hey, we just found 6.8 billion to send to whatever, we just found 4 billion here, we just found 10 billion over there, we're just gonna, anyways, all that happens every day, and some of that you hear, some you don't. Well, guess what? That is also affecting the price. So the more the U.S. prints, and the more Mexico keeps their fiscal responsibility, which they're doing, and they're growing, and they're doing all these things, like they're building refineries so they can rely on themselves. They're becoming self-reliant instead of becoming reliant on the USA or other countries when it comes to oil, energy, and so many things. And now other countries are relying on Mexico. So now it's like, remember, there are big people, okay, that are worth gazillions of dollars, that are, they're so rich they're not even on the Forbes list. And long story short, a lot of these people that are controlling the world, or dictating the future of the world, they're placing their bets, okay? And they know where this is going, and it's as simple as that. And so they're just moving their chips around just like they always do, okay? And it's just like, either you figure it out or you don't, and that's it. It's not that. It's it. It's the same as it ever was. And so, Mexico. You got to remember, Mexico is also very reliant on the USA, and the USA is very reliant on Mexico. It's a relationship that is, tumultuous to say the least. But they have to get along because they're family, because they're both Americans, right? or whatever you want to call it. And they both rely on each other very much. And as times get tougher, whether we go to World War III, whether, we have some, another Cold War, whether tensions keep rising, with China, Russia, whether all these things, whether, all these other tensions around the world are also rising and things like that, well, guess what? The USA is going to have to rely more and more on Mexico and vice versa. Because as the world gets crazier and we might not be able to do global trade, for example, well, guess what? Thank God that we got Mexico as our next door neighbor and we can just truck things over the border, no problem. You know what I mean? So, and vice versa. So, when the people that are placing the bets and the people that are really controlling all this, right? Because there's just too many variables, to really put into what really controls, the price of currency. But when you put all these variables together, it's like, yeah, no, of course, of course, you know what I mean? Like it's just gonna keep dropping, and there's a reason for that it's inevitable. Is that again, once you add all these things together, even if you're trying to manipulate and control the price of the peso, like you might try to do that with other currencies, you can't. You just can't anymore. And again, this is not just happening with the peso, because when you go to like Colombia, when you go to like other countries right now that are having major economic problems, okay, because remember, Mexico's not having an economic problem. They're having an economic boom, but other countries are having economic problems, right? And their currency is also getting stronger next to the dollar. So it's, right now, really, if I'm again just placing my bets and I'm like, okay, what's really making this go lower every day? It's the dollar. It's the fact that they're printing the dollar into oblivion and they're not even telling us. All right? It's more than what they're normally doing. But what do I know? Remember, I'm just a guy with a fake plastic horse here, with no pet insurance, okay? So don't listen to me. What do I know? Bruh. Anyways. So yeah, we're going to be seeing a major change in the world right now. We're seeing it, you know what I mean? I don't know how it's going to really play out, but again, if you're just going to start placing some bets, you better believe Mexico's going to be all right. You know what I mean? Think about it. You know what I mean? Like, listen, again, we go to like say World War III, all right? Listen, Mexico will supply China and supply the USA with whatever they need. Just like the USA and their corporations supplied both sides of the equation with whatever they needed back in World War II. And I can go on and on and on. You know what I mean? So it's the same old song and dance. And, will it ever get too expensive to live in? Again, it just really depends on who's asking. It really depends on who's asking. And so that's the reality of it. Look, today's episode is not solutions. I'm not giving you guys solutions. I give you guys solutions on this in other episodes, okay? Talking about the similar subject of all this, okay? There are solutions for you, for people out there. And, whether you want to take them or not, that's another question. Again, in my case, my solution is integrate into the Mexican economy and start making those juicy, yummy pesos and start trading away those dollars as soon as I can get them. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's my strategy. When it comes to gold and silver, yeah, you used to be able to buy this at the bank, but as I've talked about this multiple times, as the years have gone on, it's more and more difficult to get this because, well, they know what's coming. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say. They know what's coming. And so, every time I've gone to the bank these days, they never see it for sale anymore. In fact, I went to my bank the other day and I asked them, hey, I want to, I'm interested in buying gold and silver. Just curious because I wanted to see where they were at. Every bank is different, right? So I buy this at one bank, or I used to buy it at Banco Azteca, but they're always run out. This seems like a year now, a whole year. Every time I go to Banco Azteca, they don't have any more silver. But anyway, so I went to BBVA, I went to another bank, and I asked them, and they go, oh yeah, of course you can buy gold and silver, but you need to have a 250,000 peso minimum to place an order. I'm like, what? So let me 250,000 pesos, right? So $15,000 order minimum, okay, to get delivery. All right. Where before, I bought just a few coins from there. So things have changed, and they're changing more and more every day. So honestly, the only way to get gold and silver these days in Mexico, I would say, would be to be in certain areas of Mexico. I forget the names of the cities or whatever, but in the middle of Mexico, where they're literally mining it out of the ground, you'll be able to get it right then and there, no problem, for very cheap. Meaning under spot at the very, under spot or spot price, you'll be able to get it in many parts of Mexico. But let's say in Merida, where, I am the furthest away from any silver mine, I would have to go through a private dealer these days in order to buy. Now, if you want to sell, if you got Mexican libertades, any bank will buy them from you. They will not buy your, buffalo or your, Mexican, they won't buy your buffaloes or your Canadian, whatever the hell's, but they'll buy all the Mexican libertades all day. So Joe P says, Mexico's a good, strong country and will do well, but my thoughts is the exchange rate will stay close to what it is for years. It's going to keep dropping, honestly. I don't see it. So anyways, let me see. Pedro says productivity, export value, and so we're going to be seeing some interesting things. We are seeing interesting things. We're seeing that every single day. So, I'm just reading through your comments real quick there. But yeah, man, honestly, it depends on who you're asking. So right now, like if you are dependent on a foreign currency, a foreign entity providing a pension, providing retirement, providing, social security payments, whatever you want to call it, I would keep an eye on this very closely. Now, look, if you come to Mexico and you buy a home, you're good. Again, you're on retirement, but you're able to buy your home, you're fine. You should be able to stave off, all of this, even if it keeps dropping all the way down, because you'll have a home. And property taxes here are minimum. And honestly, one of the most, the two most expensive things are food and your, and your rent, your housing. But if you don't have housing to worry about, meaning your housing is already paid for, then really it's just, your food and your, electricity, your basic needs like that. So, for anyone out there that has the means, that still wants to come and retire and live in Mexico, I would highly recommend, for you to buy a home, because that would, that's a big plus. In fact, if you go look at this chart that I have on the screen there, for people that came to Mexico in the last 7 years, okay, and they were able to put that strength of the dollar to peso to work, well, guess what? They were able to buy, really amazing, expensive properties for cheap. Okay, but guess what? As now things are getting more expensive because there's more demand and all this other stuff. And again, this is why I laugh when I hear about the gentrification is through foreigners. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, we're gonna see how much gentrifying they're gonna do as it keeps dropping. Anyways, but the point I'm making is, that, a lot of the people that invested their money in Mexico, again, just a few years ago, back when it was at a very high exchange rate, well, guess what? They're seeing the fruits through their labors right now. They're living in a very, very fancy house in a fancy neighborhood. They're living a fancy life out here in Mexico, and they're probably getting a measly retirement check, but they don't got to worry about nothing because they put their money to work at the right time, But as time goes on, now is a time, now is a race against time to see how far it can drop. And is it even going to recover? So remember, so what could make this turn around? Okay, what can make this turn around? Easily. Honestly, what can make it turn around is, again, a major, world event like we had with the virus. Okay, we have another major world event. This might make it, turn around. Or a new president that is the opposite of the president we have now, which could happen, just like it did in the USA, all right, where everything just flipped around. So, there are things that could still happen. But these things, again, the major world event, I don't see that happening right now. The next presidential election is the same time as the U.S. presidential election. So again, we're still far away from that, and we can still see a way more dropping before we see any kind of change to the dropping. You know what I mean? Something has to make the drop stop and then reverse. Okay, so remember, there's nothing that's saying that right now, because both countries are trending in complete opposite directions. Okay, Mexico is trending upwards and USA is trending downwards. So that's the reality of it. And so those trends are not changing anytime soon. So let's just keep that in mind. So yeah, exactly. It's funny, people talking about crypto, because if you got crypto, let's say you were holding on to crypto and, you saw a drop in price. Well, guess what? If you're really looking at it, from the value perspective, you've actually gained, right? I think Bitcoin, for example, has gone like 75% or something, or I don't know, something since the year's begun. Hey, look, same as the peso. I mean, think about it, from the beginning. Look, let's just go 1 year. Let's go 1 year back, okay? This is not even a full year, but let's just go from... January 1st, it was already 1950. And from 1950 to 1684, that's... I don't know what the math is on that, but that's, seems like almost like a 20% drop already. Or a 20% strengthening of the peso. So if you were holding on to pesos, you got 20% more money, more value today. If you were holding on to dollars, you lost 20%, give or take. So we got Joe Peach coming in with the $5 super chat. Shout out to you, brother. Joe Peach says, I love my Mexican brothers. I just wish politicians would quit using Mexico as a scapegoat. Yes, U.S. politicians. But, hey, man, it is what it is, man. It's the same as it ever was. If it's not Mexico, it's something else. That's just the way politicians... It's just a politician politicking. I don't know what else to say, so... Bruh. But, yeah, I agree with you, I mean, it is what it is. See, Maggie Price says, we will own a beautiful condo in Aguascalientes, and we have a very good Social Security and savings, so we hope we'll be okay. So, yeah, and so again, look, if you own a home, again, you own your property in Mexico, my God, that is such a relief, because then you got to just do the math, okay? And how do you do the math? Again, you got to start thinking of the worst case scenario. Don't be thinking like, okay, I only got $1,000 in retirement a month. So it's $1,000, by, pesos, right now at this price. No, you got to really think at the worst case scenario, meaning, so if it's, right now 1683 and you're going to retire in 6 months to a year, it might be 10. And look, I know that's like way overshooting it. It might just be 14 or 12. Who knows? I don't know. But let's just say that it's 10. Will you be able to survive? So, that's the thing. And I mean, that's what a lot of people need to, kind of consider, because right now the Mexican peso being at 16, whatever. All right, hold on. Right. What would be 10? It would be 10,000 pesos. Okay. So right now you do your math and you're like, oh, okay, I'll be fine. I got 16,000 pesos for my retirement a month. But by the time you retire and you end up out here, and it's not 16,000 pesos anymore, it's 10,000 pesos now. And that 10,000 pesos is not going to buy you what it used to buy you, because back in the day, those 10,000 pesos used to buy you a lot more. But now things are more expensive in Mexico due to inflation and supply and demand. And I can go with a bunch of other things. But a typical Mexican, even though they see higher prices, they're making so much more. So they're not really seeing it. But now you come out here and you're getting that double whammy. You're getting double punch in the face by both sides. So you just keep that in mind, all right? Do I think BRICS can affect the dollar? I don't think BRICS is going to even get off the ground, but I don't know anything. I think BRICS is a lot of, fake news propaganda from China. A lot of China. Remember, China also makes news and propaganda. I mean, come on. They got like TikTok, I don't want to get into it. But the point I'm making is that I think just China and the people that back China are, obviously they want to take down the dollar, so they're doing everything humanly possible. But we've talked about that multiple times. If you look at every country in BRICS right now, whether, South Africa is on fire. India does not get along with China. India is also the U.S.'s number one ally in the region, in a sense. China, they don't allow their yuan out of the country. How's that going to work? Because of the communism thing. Again, ask a typical Chinese person if they can have any yuan outside of China. Anyways, and Russia, I mean, they're a little busy right now. I don't know if you noticed. And then Brazil, again, they just had a change in government, also on fire. Not as much as South Africa. That's another level of on fire. But again, these are the countries that are going to take down the dollar. I mean, even though the U.S. is having all the problems it's having, you look at what's really happening in these countries, you're like, yeah, no, that's not happening. it's as much as a lot of people, me included, would like to see, an end of the current system and a beginning of a new system, it's not happening anytime soon. And if there is a change from one system to the other, I've already mentioned this many times. It's going to change. It's going to be from dollar, from old dollar. The dollar we're using right now is the old dollar. So from old dollar to new dollar. That's it. Like it or not. Okay, that's what I see. Again, remember, CBDCs, I'm sure you've already heard about these, central bank digital currencies, and I can go on and on. So what they're really trying to do is have a smooth transition from one currency to the next. So they're burning this one into the ground so they can just move on to the next one. But they think it's going to be an easy, smooth transition. I think it's not, because I've actually read a few history books here and there, and I don't think it's going to be very smooth at all. And so in that moment of that transition, that's when everything's just going to be thrown into the haywire, and then we're going to see what's going to happen. I've talked about this multiple times before in other live streams and other videos, but yeah, so I think that's where we're heading, honestly, And so that's to me, we don't know. But then, when we are in a place in the world in which we don't know, which has happened before multiple times in history, most of the human race says, okay, what can we be sure of? And then that's when they end up, talking about money. We can't trust the U.S. government. We can't trust these CBDCs. We can't trust all these things that are going on. Let's just go back to this. Oh, no currency wants to be backed by gold or silver? No problem. We'll just deal with this directly. Oh, whatever. We're living in a new internet age and we need, currencies. I got to pay you and pay me and we got to do this like that. No problem. We got these things called digital currencies, like the Bitcoins of the world. I could go on and on. Don't get me started with the whole tangent. But long story short, that's what I think is going to happen. I think that once that transition kind of, happens, all bets are off. And then we're going to see, okay, who's going to win. And again, let's just say Mexico is going to be providing the world with the hard currency of silver. Where's that going to put them? All the way at the top. So that's why Mexico's not when I hear, Mexico's joining BRICS, they're not. They can't. They're trying to get as far away from that and as far away from everyone as humanly possible. Mexico wants to be sovereign. They want to be independent. They want to be their own nation. They are tired, sick and tired of being somebody else's biatch. Okay, so or whatever. All right, so and that's it. The tides are turning, and so. Mexico's a very honorable country. They are an amazing, loyal friend to the USA, even though the USA has shat on them many times. But long story short, now Mexico has, bargaining chips when it comes to this relationship, that is the US and Mexico, and, bargaining chips with the rest of the world. And that's it. And Mexico just wants what's fair to Mexico. And they're tired. They don't give a crap what's happening in the rest of the world. They, have open arms, open immigration, open everything to everyone in the world, and they're here to help everybody, but that's it. They're not getting involved. They never have. They never will. So, again, it's all the, I forgot what I was even saying. I was, going off on the whole BRICS thing. But, no, I see BRICS just more propaganda from China than anything else. So, Eddie says, do you happen to have any information about people being on Social Security and SSD in Mexico and the legality of it? Yes, I've actually made a video on that. It's one of the live streams. So, to talk about that, if you want to ask me a question like that, or if you want to ask me a question like that and you want to know if I have already answered it, or you want me to answer it, all you got to do, go to my website, okay? Go to personalized consultations. If you click on the link that I provide in the chat, that I provide in the description, that I provide down below, you get to see everything, okay? How everything's done and all the links. But anyways, long story short, down below here, all right, just like on my YouTube page, there's a playlist with all the questions, all the live streams like this that I've done in the past, and you'll find it there. Now, you got to dig because I answered this a while ago, okay? But yes, I answered that question. I'm not going to answer it now. Go look for that. Go watch that video, and you'll get your answer, Eddie. Shout out to you, okay? Yeah, look, Narud Jaloof, BRICS is set to launch their petro whatever, yuan. But the thing is that are people going to use it? Now, look, think about it like this. This is why the U.S. gives so much money away to so many countries, because all of a sudden, if the USA, okay, let's say that, the BRICS currency comes online, okay? And for you to really use it, you can only trade with those countries, right? And you can only do certain things with that currency. Like you cannot spend yuan in your home country, okay? But all of a sudden, at the same time, you get a knock on the door and the USA is coming to you with a new donation for women's studies or whatever it is, or for satellite studies, or for studying, monkeys in space, and they give you $70 billion. And what are you going to do with that money? You're going to be like, no, thanks, USA. You can just throw that in the trash. We don't want it. No, you're going to take that money and you're going to spend it. And spend it on your own country. Why? Because everybody accepts the dollar, and they still do, and they still will. Okay, but then all of a sudden, these people are like, hey, you gotta get this yuan, and you could go through this whole complicated thing, and you can only spend this money. Now, listen, man, come on, it doesn't work the same way. All right, so the thing is that look, the more you really, I'm not a BRICS hater. I'm just telling you the truth. It's not like I'm not defending the dollar. I'm not defending any of that. I'm just, I'm just being honest. I mean, right now, we're talking about like the world champ is a U.S. dollar. It's Mike freaking Tyson, and you're telling me that Buster Douglas or somebody, I don't know. I think Buster Douglas actually did knock him out. Never mind. I don't know. Somebody that's just some freaking tomato can. All right. Bruh. And you're gonna tell me that tomato can is gonna knock out Mike Tyson. It's like, no, it's not gonna happen. And again, if it does, it might be a Buster Douglas move, but it's gonna be something like that. All right, and it could happen, but I doubt it, man, because it's when you really start looking super deep into it, it's like I don't see this happening. You know what I mean? Most people, don't really look past what they see in a headline or whatever. When you really look deep into like the world trade, and you see that like 70+% of all world trade is done in the dollar, like it or not. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's just, and all of a sudden you want the world to just flip over. And again, what is the benefit? You got to think about, right? The quick pro quo, the pro bono, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, what is the benefit? You gotta ask, what is the benefit to all of these countries switching to that? Think about it. What is that? What is the benefit? Maybe someone can answer it, because I don't see no benefit. You know what I mean? I see no benefit at all. You know what I mean? Well, at the same time, remember, how could you even see a benefit? And especially in the world that we're living in today, in which the U.S. is giving more money than it ever has to all of these countries around the world to buy influence. And make sure that dollar is still in use. And why will it be in use? Well, because you just got a fresh $30 million deposited into your bank account. You're just gonna leave it there? Are you kidding me? Are you not looking at the exchange rate? I just gave you $30 million, and you're in Mexico and you're just gonna let that sit there? No, you're gonna go exchange it for pesos as soon as humanly possible, making the peso stronger, and then you're gonna use those pesos to whatever. And even if you don't exchange it for pesos, okay, let's just say that you just use that dollar straight up to buy whatever it is you're gonna buy for infrastructure, or maybe you're just buying yourself a Ferrari because you're a corrupt politician. You know what I mean? And then China's like, hello, can you come and use my petro yuan? And Mexico's like, bro, I got my own petrol, bro. Get out of here with that shit. But I'm just saying, man, you know what I mean? Or any other country out there, man. You know what I mean? Again, people don't even realize, like, India and China border each other. And India also borders Pakistan. And both those, Pakistan and China both hate India. And they're both pointing nuclear missiles at each other, and they're fighting over water or fighting over other things. They're fighting over so many things right now. Like literally, the World War III could start on the Indian-China border, and they're joining for BRICS. So come on, man. You know, Jesus. You know, like, you know, it's all right. I don't like to poo-poo on people's thing, but it's just, again, you know, when people really, and again, just look at South Africa. In fact, don't even watch this thing anymore. I'm obviously, you know, don't know what I'm talking about, right? Just type into Google, YouTube, South Africa. What's happening in South Africa right now? You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. In fact, have you seen that movie? One movie was it District 9? Remember that shit? It looks like District 9. You know, South Africa right now looks like fucking District 9, man. The hell out of here with that. Bro, come on now. What are we doing here? So, I don't know, man. Just saying. I'm reading the comments right now. That's why I'm quiet. So, Maggie Price says, one funny thing, I just got my permanent residency and found out I automatically qualify for 2,000 peso a month pension without working a day in Mexico. Wow, that is awesome. So look at that. So even Mexico's giving you Social Security. Bruh. That is pretty awesome. So think about that, you know what I mean? Like, if the dollar gets 1-to-1, Maggie, are you really even that worried? I mean, think about it. You know, now you're getting, how many retirements are you getting now? You know, how many pensions are you getting, you know? And, yeah, so. But I think it's because you're Mexican. Oh, no, you got permanent residency. No, never mind. Okay, you're not Mexican. Whatever. Wow. Okay, all I got to say is, Watchful Eye says, true, the biggest fights in school were the Chinese and the Indians on the other. I mean, man, if people even knew what's going on that side of the world, your jaw would drop. I mean, people don't even know. I mean, right now with Japan, man, what's going on with Japan? Japan right now is like, we want to fight. Hey, USA, can you let us off our leash? We want to fight, you know, and we want to protect the waters, and we hate China. Remember, we hate China. We've always hated China, and we know you hate China. Can we hate China together? Please, pretty please. And so the US is like, yeah, sure. Well, how can we help? Man, things are just, so many things are happening right now around the world, and people have no clue. People have no clue. And Mexico is, I mean, think about it. Right now, as tensions rise, as things get worse, you know, Mexico is just seeing themselves, as things get worse, you know, people in Mexico are really like, you know, that's all they're thinking. It's like, oh, really? Russia invaded Ukraine? Oh, really? There's going to be World War III? Oh, really? There's going to, you know, he said, are you kidding me? He's like, oh, there's more drug addicts in the USA? You know, out here they're like, yeah, come on, man. Come on, man. So honestly, what I see with Mexico is that I see Mexico becoming a very expensive place to live. I see Mexico becoming a power in that sense. You know, they're not going to be a world power like the USA, No way, Jose, but they're definitely, I mean, think about it, if they get so crazy powerful and then their number one best friend in the world is the USA, how cool would that be? You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're getting there. I think that's where we're kind of getting. And as Mexico lifts up, you know what I mean? And we finally come out of all this turmoil we're going on in the world. I think that eventually, once the USA, picks itself back up from rock bottom that we're certainly heading into, because we're not there yet, that, the Mexico's going to lift up the USA, because Mexico's going to be so crazy strong, it's going to be able to lift up the USA. And in fact, it's going to be in every benefit to Mexico to lift up the USA and so on and so forth. So, but again, this is already like, 20, 30, 40 years down the line. I'm not even, we are at the beginning of Mexico starting a golden period, and we are now, at the middle, right in the middle of the USA into their dark period, so... we're going to see how all this plays out. But the USA is not going anywhere. You got to remember, we have the biggest, baddest army in the world. We have, so much influence cultural wise around the world. If you ask the typical human on Earth, hey, what would you rather have? The Chinese Empire or the US Empire? Hey, hands down, okay? 99.99% are going to be like, yeah, no, we'll take the USA. We hate them. We despise the USA, but we would rather have USA over China. Why are you even asking us that? What kind of question is that? So, and it's just because, again, you're talking about, communism with, fake freedom. I mean, liberty, America, democracy. But that's really it, And so, it's what the USA represents on the world stage, not just on a political spectrum, but just cultural wise, just so many. And I'm not talking about the crap that's happening now. I'm talking about the blue jeans, the beer, the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the pizzas of the world. I'm talking about the real culture, not whatever's happening now. And so that real culture, it's very deep and embedded in the rest of the world right now. And, what does China have? They got like what, Kung Fu, Egg Foo Young, it's, again, these are great additions to the world, but it cannot go past that because of the communist regime right now that basically destroyed their past. I don't want to get into all that. But long story short, there's not really much Chinese culture to speak of, even though they're the oldest. As crazy as that sounds, right? And the USA, as much as people want to poo-poo on, the USA has no culture. Like, the USA is culture. What are you talking about? Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? So, it's like the USA does something, everyone else wants to do it too. I don't know what else to say. All right, it's the popular kid in school, whether you hate, and again, everybody hates the popular kid in school, but they all want to be the popular kid in school, and that could go on and on. So, we're going through all that, and the popular kid in school, is not having a good semester right now, but this is a long high school, whatever. We still got a ways to go here. And, the USA, just like many times before, we are, going to have a down period. We're going to go through a rocky, point in our history. But, we're America, man. And we're going to, lift up from that. And we got the best partner in the world, Mexico, which, remember, with all the things that are going on now, the drug war and all these other things, maybe, we, by mistake, wink, wink, whatever. By mistake, now we are making Mexico super crazy strong so that when the USA does hit rock bottom, it has the strongest of friends to lean on. So, I don't know. Just saying. Have I ever had any run-ins with the cartels? No, because, most people get the wrong idea as to what the cartels are. Most cartels, I've already talked about it, they're just business people. So no, they're not. And maybe I have, maybe the guy wearing a suit at XYZ business was, and I didn't even know they were. I thought they were just the owner. That's really what it is out here. They're just as boring as mafia, obviously it's an exciting life, but this is the reality of what they really are. And then what's going on with all the wars and all the fighting and all the killings, that's all the way up north in another part of Mexico. And that might as well be like, hey, have you ever been to the south side of Chicago? And have you ever hung out with... No, I have not. And most people have not either. And they will not. So, It's the same thing, you know what I mean? So most people are, and then the Mexicans that are caught up in that, they left, they're leaving, they're not there anymore, you know. So it's not what we think, all right? So, and I've talked about this again in other episodes. You can check those out. Caddy Williams. Hi, Jose. I'm a new subscriber. Hey, shout out to you. Welcome aboard. Yeah. I'm living in Tabasco. Have you ever visited? I have not. I have not visited. But I want to visit, you know, all of Mexico, honestly. It's just, you know, again, I know a lot of people don't know my full story, but I came out here 5 years ago with $1,500 to my name, a very good high exchange rate. No, but honestly, I just had that, a few bags with my clothes. I spoke Spanish, and I was able to just make it happen. And, you know, and in the process, I was recording all this, and, you know, I have a YouTube channel talking about all this. But I haven't really traveled much because I haven't really had much money to travel on. But I have traveled a few times. A lot of times it's been because of Christian's art, because she's an artist, you know, that's my wife. And, you know, we have traveled to Oaxaca, Mexico City, because she has, you know, done artwork, you know, in those cities, or you know, done workshops or what have you. So for example, we went to Oaxaca so that she could, you know, attend a workshop and also, you know, do a wall painting, a fresco. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And then we went to Mexico City, which is another, by the way, I mean, anyways, we went to Mexico City because she was chosen. She was one of the people chosen out of a few handful of people across the whole country, you know, women that were representing the states that they lived in. So she represented this state, which is Yucatan, and basically all these women, you know, were brought to Mexico City, and me and her were in Congress. You know, we were in you know, it was so cool, man. You know what I mean? That I was in the middle of, like, you know, where all the politicians in Mexico were, and it was all because of her, you know, because of her artwork and her achievements and what she's done and has done and will do and is doing. And she's in the national. We don't talk about this because whatever, but she's actually in the Mexican National Archives. You know, her painting and her work and all this other stuff. So that's pretty freaking cool. And you know, I got to visit because of her. You know what I mean? And things like that. So yeah, you know, pretty interesting. Really, I every time I visit any part of Mexico, I love it. I've been to Tijuana multiple times as I used to live in Southern California for a while. So yeah, you know, I love Mexico everywhere I visit. But, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm glad that you brought that up because, you know, I see we've gone over an hour on this episode and we're already switching subjects. So that means that we're starting to wrap this bad boy up. And so how this works is that every Thursday we answer 3 questions. And this is question number 2 that we are just wrapping up right now. And we're moving on to question number 3, which is basically what we were about to start to talk about right now, which is, you know, me traveling Mexico and, you know, why do I live in Mérida, Yucatan? And so that's the next question that we're going to answer. And we've already gone over. So we're going to be, you know, moving on to that in a few minutes. Hold on. Let me fix this real quick. So today, by the way, okay, so we're gonna move on to another live stream. So we're gonna continue this right now. But I'm also gonna be dropping a video today, a special day, because, you know, I just want to drop a video today. I'm feeling a little extra saucy. So after these live streams, I'm also dropping an actual video. I know I only drop videos on Sunday, but like I said, I'm feeling a little extra saucy today and I want to drop a video. So we're going to be dropping a video today. So you're getting a lot of extra Jose content this week and I hope you guys are enjoying it. But speaking of which, every single Thursday, what we do on this channel is that I like to answer questions that you guys in the audience ask me. Now, I usually answer them in the comments section. I usually answer them, in other live streams. We do our, complete live streams where I'm just talking to you guys for hours on end, answering or talking about, answering questions, talking about any subject, you guys bring up. But every single Thursday, what I like to do is that I like to answer questions that you guys provide to me. So what we do is that, again, I got the link that I provided, right there in the chat, that I provided in the description of this video, that I provided in the comments section. And when you click on that link, it'll take you straight to my website. Okay. And it'll take you to this page on my website. And on this page, it'll explain to you in detail how you can reach out to me All right, and ask me a question, and depending on the severity of the question will depend on the donation amount, and then we just come to an agreement, and then that's it. I schedule you for a future Thursday, and I answer your question. One of three. Every single Thursday we do 3 questions for the time being. Okay, so earlier today we talked about pet insurance. Okay, that was brought up to us by Maggie, so shout out to Maggie for asking that question. I'm glad I was able to answer it very thoroughly. Thank you to Maggie for the donation, and also providing that information for the rest of the audience. And today, right now, with this video, this was asked by Paula. She also provided a substantial, donation for this very complicated topic that she wanted, for me to talk about. And that's it. I think we're done here. And so shout out to her. And now we're going to move on to the next question. So how do you get to the next question? Very easy. Since we're wrapping it up here, all you got to do is just click on the picture of me and my wife, all right? And then just go to my YouTube page, and that's my YouTube page as you're seeing right there on screen. And then you just click on this bad boy, and then boom, it's going to take you here, all right? And then it's going to see another picture of me and my wife there just hanging out, okay? And then that's it. We're going to move on to there now, okay? In 8 minutes, so 8 minutes from now, we're going to start that live stream, all right? So you already know what to do. Just click on the link if you want to know more about how you can ask me a question, how you can help, provide for the show, okay? So again, we're all helping each other out here. I provide tons of free information, but this is a way in which you can help donate to the show, and you can get something back in return where you get yourself a live video, or again, you can buy a t-shirt, buy a mug. Shout out to everyone out there that's buying the merch, and shout out to everyone out there in the audience. And again, thank you. Again, thank you to everyone today that also sent just donations, just for no reason at all. Shout out to you guys, all right? So shout out to Joe Peach, and shout out to every single other person that I don't see here, but I apologize I didn't mention you. But shout out to all of you guys for also sending in your donations, okay? I think that's it. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to wrap this one up here. You already know the deal. If you want to see more of these episodes or videos, you just click on the links around here. You're going to find all these playlists, all right? And you're going to watch more of these. And for anyone out there watching live, all right, just, I'll see you guys in the next video, which is right there. All right, so I'll see you guys there in a few minutes. Thanks again for watching, and see you guys soon.